categories of the competencies. So there's introduction to underlying competencies, and then these are the categories, and notice that the first letter of each word is underlined. So analytical thinking and problem solving, behavioral characteristics, business knowledge, communication skills, interaction skills, and tools and technology. And so the mnemonic from that is ABBCIT, which is all big bugs crawling trees. And that one was created by my student, Zachary Stein, and I like it. I think it's kind of good. So, just wait till you see some of the other mnemonics. They're cheesily funny and clever too. But anyway, I kind of like that one. For me, that helps me remember those words. So I think it's pretty good. But you can come up with your own. And I think someone shared in the chat window last week a couple of websites where you can that you can use to create mnemonics. Okay, so the underlying competencies chapter gives descriptions of the behaviors and characteristics and knowledge, and also what they're calling personal qualities that are necessary to be an accomplished, adaptable business analyst and trusted and that sort of thing too. So yeah, so there are 6 categories again, graphically. And so, and each of them has a number of competencies in that group. So if we take the first one, analytical thinking and problem solving. So basically, business analysts need analytical thinking and problem solving so that they can facilitate understanding of business situations and problems and opportunities. They can actually themselves understand business situations, problems, and opportunities, and also so that they can understand the value of proposed changes and the impact of those changes and various other complex ideas. And so you want to be able to rapidly assimilate various types of information, figure out what's relevant, and find the real underlying business problem. So in other words, to do root cause analysis. And you also want to be able to present that information and ideas in the best way so that the stakeholders will understand it as well. So it's not just you that assimilates, that has to assimilate it. The stakeholders also have to assimilate it. We've got a number of underlying competencies, which are going clockwise from the top: creative thinking, decision making, learning, problem solving, systems thinking, conceptual thinking, and visual thinking. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4 of those have thinking in them, and then the other 3 are decision making, learning, and problem solving. So they all have a word ending in ing in them, which is interesting. All right. So this is a list of them, and here's the next mnemonic tip, because it's CDL, PCSV. And so it's calm down, let's play some cool videos. So that one, as I say, may not work for you. It works for me. But anyway, one of my students made that up. So I kind of liked it. I think it was probably Wes Gifford who attended one of our certification screenside chats. Anyway, so we'll go ahead and talk about each of those individually. So creative thinking is essential in order to help generate new ideas and approaches, right? So that you can solve problems and create opportunities. And so it basically involves working with existing concepts and ideas to change them, combine them, reapply them in new ways, and overcome conventional approaches that may be limiting what your options currently are. And also, you want to be able to promote creative thinking in others via asking questions, challenging their assumptions, and proposing alternatives. And the way that you measure the effectiveness of that is that you demonstrate that you're generating and productively considering new ideas and concepts and applying new ideas to resolve existing problems. Okay. The next one is decision making. And so you need to effectively understand the criteria. What is the decision criteria for a particular decision, and then assist others to make better decisions. So you want to be able to enable stakeholders to select an option from among a set of alternatives by making an informed decision, such as if they were going to make a decision on various alternatives that you presented in a business case or something of that nature. So the BA gathers, analyzes, and interprets the relevant information and makes comparisons and outlines the risks and benefits of each option. So effectiveness measures of the decision-making underlying competency are that the stakeholders all understand the decision-making process, and they also understand the conditions, environment, and measures in which the decision will be made, and that you have clearly communicated all pros and cons such that they understand and know what they are, and that the decision reduces or eliminates uncertainty in some way. Whoops, wait a minute. I think I went ahead. Yeah, so I want to go back. I want to go to learning. Okay, the next one is learning. So the purpose of learning, this when it shouldn't be a surprise, it's to quickly absorb new and different types of information or modify and adapt existing knowledge to the current situation. So it's the process of gaining skills and knowledge. And business analysts need to adopt the best learning techniques in order to acquire, comprehend, apply, and then also to synthesize, which means to put them together, right? And evaluate the information in order to identify opportunities and evaluate or create new solutions. So the effectiveness measures of this particular competencies are, you know, do you learn concepts that are presented and then demonstrate the understanding, which show that you learn them? Are you able to effectively present new facts, ideas, and concepts and opinions to others? And then demonstrate the ability to apply concepts to new areas or relationships. So one way that, you know, that you demonstrate learning, as they point out here, is that you're able to present it to others. And they always say one way to really learn something is to explain it to someone else, right? So that's why that's an effective measure. So then next we have problem solving. And the purpose of problem solving is to define and solve problems and make sure that the real underlying root cause of the problem is understood and also agreed upon, that there's, you know, not any conflict about it. And also you want to be able to understand the solution options that address that problem. So problem solving means that you need to address various stakeholders' points of view, and you need to resolve any conflicts among goals and objectives that the individual ones that each stakeholder may have, and also identify and validate any assumptions. And it requires that alternatives need to be measured against agreed upon objectives to identify the value and what trade-offs may need to be made. And effectiveness measures of problem solving are that the participants in the problem solving process have confidence in you and in the actual problem solving process itself. And that the selected solutions actually do meet the defined objectives and do solve the root cause of the problem. So that a lot of that is, you know, that you actually, the experience actually does fix the problem, and, you know, and you demonstrate that. And then that gives the participants even more confidence in the problem solving process. So anyway, and then the next one is systems thinking. So this one is understanding how the people, processes, and technology in an organization interact. So you have to have, it gives you a holistic view of the organization. And so systems thinking is understanding the whole system. So as they point out here, people, processes, technology, the environment, and the market. So those are the interaction of those component parts within the system and their effect on each other. So, so it's not just within the organization, it's also the environment and the market as well. And so the effectiveness measures are that you're able to communicate how changes to a component will affect the system as a whole, and how changes to a system may affect the environment that the system is in, and then also how systems will adapt to internal and external changes. So external changes would be environmental or market type changes. So environmental could be competitors or something like that. And then next we have conceptual thinking. And the purpose here is to be able to understand how detailed and disparate information will fit into the larger holistic picture, and then what details are relevant, what details may be misleading, and how to connect seemingly abstract information in order to find valuable information. So you need to be able to understand the linkage between context, solutions, and needs, and changes, and stakeholders, and value in both the details and the big picture. And then you need to be able to find patterns and connect information that is of value. And the effectiveness measure is connecting disparate information and acting to better understand the relationships and situation. So, all right, the next one is visual thinking. And I'm sorry about this. I misspelled that there. Okay. Ability to communicate complex concepts and models into pictures that facilitate stakeholder engagement and understanding. And so some of us are better at, communicating complex concepts with words, and some of us are better at doing it with models, and doing it visually. So definition is a graphical representation of information, data, systems, and models to convey and integrate non-visual information and complex connections. And then oftentimes stakeholders are able to then learn more quickly because you've provided them with these pictures, and they're able to connect points in their own context. And so the effectiveness measures are that the visuals allow for comparisons, pattern finding, and idea mapping. So that means that the visuals that you're creating demonstrate that. And then stakeholders are engaged at a deeper level than they are with text alone. So visual thinking is probably like something that I wasn't initially very good at, and I had to get better at it over time. I'm probably still not as good at it as a lot of people are, but a lot of these underlying competencies you can learn. So it's a good thing. It's an evolutionary process. All right, now behavioral characteristics. Okay, so these are a little different, right? So behavioral characteristics are at the core of every business analyst skill set, and they help the business analyst gain the trust and respect of the stakeholders and increase your personal effectiveness when you're practicing business analysis. Partly because you can be much more effective if you do have the trust and respect of the stakeholders. And so here they are in the graphical form. So we see ethics, personal accountability, trustworthiness, organization and time management, and adaptability. Okay. And yeah, had a mnemonic tip for this one. So if you just take the first letter of each first word, it ends up spelling earn pay to order Amazon, because it's EPTOA. So earn pay to order Amazon. So I'm not suggesting that everyone should spend all their money on shopping at Amazon, but that's the mnemonic tip. So we'll start off with ethics. So ethics is the ability to consider and take into account the ethics of a proposed requirement or solution in the context of stakeholders or the organization. And so it requires an understanding of the ethics of the organization and consideration of the impact of a proposed solution on various stakeholder groups. So one of the effectiveness measures is that you get feedback from the stakeholders confirming that they feel decisions and actions are transparent and fair. Okay. And then that you fully and promptly disclose any potential conflicts of interest. Okay. And hopefully the stakeholders do too. And then that you demonstrate honesty regarding your own abilities, the performance of your work, and acceptance of any errors or failures. So those are the effectiveness measures. Okay, so the next one that's a little bit related to that is personal accountability. So this is, the purpose is to ensure that the BA tasks are completed on time and meet the expectations of stakeholders and the needs of the business. So the business analyst establishes credibility by being personally accountable for planning, executing, following through, and completing all tasks accurately and on time. And the business analyst takes responsibility for escalating issues and risks and ensures that decision makers have all appropriate information. So the effectiveness measures are that the work is completed as planned or as replanned with sufficient reasoning and lead time, and that status of planned and unplanned work is known, and stakeholders feel that the work is organized and that their needs have been met. So, and you know, with the status of planned and unplanned work being known, that's kind of even feeds into the transparency thing about from ethics. All right, and then trustworthiness. So being trustworthy enables the analyst to work with sensitive issues and to have the confidence of the stakeholders. So a description of this is that if you're trustworthy, then there's a perception that you're worthy of trust, that the business analyst is worthy of trust. And this will often help offset the natural fear that change brings to many stakeholders. So what that means is that if you're starting some kind of a change initiative, you know, whether it's new technology or what it is, usually people are kind of afraid of it. But if they feel that you're trustworthy, then they're going to know that you have the best interests in heart of the stakeholders and of the organization, and that, you know, it'll be okay. You know, hopefully. So the effectiveness measures are that stakeholders bring you their issues and their concerns, and that stakeholders are willing to discuss difficult or controversial topics, and that stakeholders respects the analyst's ideas and referrals. And so when you say referrals, that can mean recommendations as well, right? All right, so on to the next one, organization and time management. This is the ability to be organized and use work time effectively. So the description is that you have the ability to prioritize and perform tasks efficiently and effectively, and to manage deadlines with reasonable lead times. And the BA is well versed in a variety of techniques in order to organize themselves and manage their time. And effectiveness measures are, unsurprisingly, the ability to produce deliverables in a timely manner, and that schedules of the work effort and the various deadlines are managed and communicated, and adhere to project schedules, and there is complete preparation for meetings, interviews, and workshops, and also that the BA maintains an up-to-date status of each work item. Okay. And then the next one is adaptability. So this is an ability to adjust the behavioral style, communication style, and method of approach in order to increase effectiveness. So the definition is being able to determine which approach or style or which business analyst technique will work, or business analysis technique will work best with certain stakeholders or organizations. And this is necessary in order to ensure that you are able to achieve the best outcome. And being able to respond to changing situations by accepting and adapting and remaining positive and flexible. So the measures of the effectiveness of your adaptability are being able to adapt positively to changing conditions and environments. demonstrating a positive attitude to ambiguity or change, and changing behavior in order to perform effectively under challenging situations. And so this was just a little guidance on adaptability. I think many of us are more adaptable than we might realize. I found out during my career that I'm very adaptable to my work environment. So I'll just give you just a brief example. This is just a little tiny one. Depending on my job or work environment, my Myers-Briggs scores can change. In the area of sensing and intuition, if my job is more detail and analysis oriented, I become more S. So, you know, if it's business analysis, essentially. And if it's more project and program management, which requires me to focus on the whole, I become more N, which is intuitive, or and it's all about seeing the whole. So, so as I say, my Myers-Briggs profile has changed before, just because I was in a different job that required me to adapt. So, and I, you know, my entire Myers-Briggs profile didn't change, just that, you know, that one particular measure, that one particular part of it. All right. And then the next one we have is, the next group is business knowledge. How are we doing for time? Oh, wow. We're whipping right through these. I might be going too fast, maybe. Okay. So, but maybe not, right? It's okay. Anyway, so general business knowledge is defined as a knowledge of an industry, organization, solution, or methodology. And business analysts use their business knowledge to better understand the concepts that govern the structure, benefits, and value of the situation as it relates to the problem or the solution. And oftentimes, there can be specialized business knowledge as well. Many business analysts have deep business knowledge in one industry or methodology or a particular solution, and this enables them to specialize. So you can have general business knowledge, or you can have specialized. And so acumen, industry knowledge, organization knowledge, solution knowledge, and methodology knowledge. Okay. So, so for the mnemonic, it's BIOSM, which is be in the office Saturday morning. Well, there's no actual T, but that's why it's lowercase, why the B is lowercase. So if anybody can come up with a better one than that one, that would be great. But anyway, right, you know, what I've got right now is be in the office Saturday morning with your business knowledge, right? Okay. So the first one is business acumen. And the purpose is to understand fundamental business principles and best practices. And so you would need to have the ability to use experience and knowledge that you've obtained from other situations to effectively apply this knowledge to the current problem and opportunity. So it's kind of like, you know, it's transferable skills, right? From one situation to another, or from one job to another. And then the effectiveness measures are demonstrating the ability to recognize potential limitations and opportunities, and to understand risks involved and make decisions on managing risks. And also to demonstrate the ability to recognize when changes to a situation may require a change in direction of initiative or effort. Okay. So as I say, this one is about fundamental business principles and best practices. And then next we have industry knowledge, which is a bit different. So that refers to the understanding of current practices and activities within an industry, or of similar processes across industries. Okay. So, you know, so industry knowledge could either be something like, let's say you've done a lot of work and you have quite a bit of experience and knowledge of kind of the manufacturing industry, or you have a lot of knowledge of the order to cash process across industries, or the purchase to pay, or something like that. So, and so the description is the understanding of current trends, market forces, key processes, services, products, customer segments, suppliers, practices, and regulations of a distinct industry or related industries. So, you know, so that could be like it says here, the products. So perhaps you, you know, for example, I worked in the bedding industry for quite a while. And so I had knowledge of their position in, you know, in their competitors and their products and some of the competing products, even though I was in IT. I wasn't, you know, I wasn't actively involved in anything like new products or the product life cycle or anything like that. But anyway, and then the effectiveness measures of your industry knowledge are your ability to identify key trends shaping an industry or your knowledge of competitors and partners. So the partners can be both companies that make similar products, or it can be your suppliers, right? And so then another effectiveness measure is being knowledgeable of sources of information about the industry, and also being familiar with industry specific terms, standards, processes, and methodologies, and also the regulatory environments, which is very important because somebody has to understand the regulatory environments that govern the organization that you're working in, right? Which could be, which could pertain to the industry. And then the next one is organizational knowledge. So this is understanding the management structure and the business architecture of the enterprise. So that's of the enterprise that you're working with, where you're doing business analysis. So it includes an understanding of how the enterprise makes money, achieves its goals, is structured. What are the relationships among the business units and the people who occupy key positions? Who are the people who occupy key positions? And so, and then it includes understanding formal and informal communication channels, as well as how decisions are made. So some of the effectiveness measures are, do you know the terminology or the jargon of the organization? Do you know who the subject matter experts are? Can you navigate organizational relationships and politics? Ooh, that one's kind of tough, right? That last one. Navigating organizational relationships and politics, that can be tricky. So, but anyway, but that is a definite effectiveness measure of organization knowledge. And then the next one is solution knowledge. So this includes the understanding of existing departments, environments, and technology to effectively identify the most, or efficiently identify the most effective means to implement a change. So for existing solutions, the knowledge acquired from previous work within this organization. So what that means is if you have previously, if you understand, if you have done previous work within the organization on the existing solution, then you have knowledge of that existing solution and should be able to efficiently identify the most effective means to say, help, you know, recommend and implement a change that would improve the solution. And then also for new solutions, the experience that you may have gained from prior experience of various commercial solutions and or suppliers of those commercial solutions. So the effectiveness measures are that you are able to reduce the time or cost to implement a change, and also shortens time on the requirements analysis or solution design tasks. And so that which can also, you know, reduce the whole schedule by having a shortened time on that particular analysis and design. Okay, the next type of business knowledge is methodology knowledge. So the purpose is understand the methodologies that are used by the organization, and be able to provide information about context, dependencies, opportunities, constraints, and risks. Okay, so and then a methodology determines how a change would be approached, and managed, and knowledge of an organization's methodology or methodologies increases the effectiveness of the BA, because then you understand how a change, you know, how, what approach should be taken or what approaches could be evaluated to take. So that makes it easier for you to do those things. So then the effectiveness measures are that our successful integration of the business analysis tasks into the existing methodology and, you know, the existing approaches, and familiarity, demonstrating familiarity with terms, tools, and techniques that are prescribed in a particular methodology. Okay. I'm just looking, I'm just checking. Gosh, we got plenty of time. Okay. Anybody have any questions before I go on? Are there any questions in the chat or comments in the chat box?
Oh, there's lots of comments.
Okay. Do I want to know what they are?
6 minutes until thing. There was one question from Audie about is it best practice to always have visual models in your BA artifacts?
That's a good question. I think, you know, I think that you want to sort of have a balance of text and visual models, because it's, while you want to assess your stakeholders and everything, there are going to be plenty of them that prefer visuals. Would you agree with that, Aaron? I mean,
yeah, we are all different types of learners. Some are
right.
visual, but if you're doing user stories,
Yeah,
to have a visual model. So I'm
right.
cautious about saying always.
Right. I agree. Because, yeah, I mean, because it's always an it depends kind of thing, right? Yeah. You don't want to say always and you don't want to say never.
And
But,
I agrees. I think it depends on which stakeholders you are dealing with.
right.
So she's agreeing with us. I won't tell you what she said about being in the office on Saturday morning. There was a curse word in there, though. From the audience, always right to the audience. Yep.
Well, see, that's one of those provocative mnemonics that gets people thinking, right? Maybe not. I don't know. Any other questions?
Yeah. Well, instead of jumping into the next session, why don't we go ahead and take our break?
That sounds good to me.
And we could probably just go right to 7:50 and you guys take an extra couple minutes.
Yeah, that works for me.
So everybody back at 7:50. And so there's 2 questions in there. If you can see it on the pop-up, you know, there's 2 questions that you can answer and then hit the submit button. If you don't see the pop-up poll, then the first question is on the slide behind there. And you can answer that first one. Which of the following is effective measure of industry knowledge? And I can see most people have it, you know, from those in the pop-up poll.
Mm-hmm.
Though we only have 9 answers on there, so keep them coming. It's even gaining more. You didn't
Yeah.
anybody on this one here, Kathy. So 21, so we're at 52%.
All right.
So 60%, so we're getting answers there. So I'm not seeing any answers in the
Chat window.
Everybody
Okay.
must be able to see the pop-up poll.
Well, that's a nice change.
So first question, which of the following is effective measures of industry knowledge? Get back to where you once belonged. That industry knowledge.
That's a Beatles song.
Bill's here. We're at 72%, so not everybody has anything less. No, I didn't, Jill. So Gene just got back, so we're doing polls. If you're just getting back from the break, you've got a couple poll questions for you. If you can in the pop-up, then, or if you can read it in the pop-up, then you can answer there. There's 2 questions to answer and hit your submit button. And if you do not see the pop-up, then you can, the first question is on the slide behind, you can answer in the chat box. I have not seen any in the chat box yet. Renee used the pop-up.
Okay. So far, 30.
Yeah, we're about 73%. Not everybody, this is for your value. So, take part in these poll questions.
Mhm.
Let's go ahead and get moving. Let's close down the poll and answer the first question for everybody.
All right. So do I need to hit end polling? Is that how I do it?
Yeah.
And then it'll show the answer to the first question.
And then
Okay.
it'll show.
Okay, there we go. And then I do share results.
Yep.
Okay. All righty. So the correct answer is having knowledge of major competitors and partners. And most people chose that. But we had, a couple of other answers chosen too. So, yeah. Okay, so does that make sense to everybody why that's having knowledge of major competitors and partners? That's industry knowledge is more about the industry, which can include competitors and partners, right? That's more about the environment around the organization, not just the organization itself. Whereas understanding of the terminology or jargon, that's organization knowledge. Okay. All right. So should I go ahead and relaunch the polling to do question 2?
Nope, that's already done.
So, oh, it is? Oh, okay. Oh, all right. Okay, I see. On their technical knowledge might be least likely to utilize which of the following tools? Okay. And then the answer to that was Maslow's hierarchy of needs, because that's kind of like a psychology tool, right? It's not really a technical thing, whereas Visual Studio is technical, service-oriented architecture is technical, and, JIRA is a requirements management tool, and it's technology, right? So hopefully that makes sense.
Does to me.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Good. What are they saying in the chat window? Is it making sense or?
What about terminologies? Oh, understood. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
That makes sense.
So, yeah. And actually, I had to change the answers to this one. This came out of Watermark, but I want to say that Watermark had some products that either don't exist anymore or got sold and renamed. So, it was 1 or 2 of them that weren't, anyway, so it's all right. Okay, so should I go ahead and stop sharing? Underlying competencies is communication skills. Okay, so communication skills involves both the sender and the receiver. And so both need to end up having the same understanding of the information being communicated, right? And ideally, right? And oftentimes it doesn't happen that way. So, so that's why this is such a valuable skill. So this can be accomplished using a variety of delivery methods: verbal, nonverbal, physical, written. So, shared knowledge glossary of terms and concepts. If you have a glossary like that, it can reduce misunderstanding and reduce differences between the understanding of the sender and the receiver. And so effective communication includes adapting communication styles and techniques to the knowledge level and communication styles of the recipients. So you need to know your audience and understand what their communication style is, and make sure that you give the information to them in the style in which they are best equipped to receive it. So good communication is well planned. You need to consider what is their language, what's the culture, what might be the motivations of the stakeholders, their priorities, and also what are their learning and thinking styles. And so you need to have, you need to use that when you're crafting the communication. Here are the different competencies that are within this category. So it's verbal communication, nonverbal communication, written communication, and listening. So when they say verbal, they're really meaning talking type communication. So there's verbal, nonverbal, which can be body language, the nonverbal can, and then written communication and listening. And so all of those are very important. And I knew you guys were waiting for this. Here's the mnemonic. So the mnemonic is VNWL. So that turns into vegetarians need washed lettuce. So that again came from another one of my students. I don't remember if that one might have been from Brian Smoot. I'm not sure. But anyway, vegetarians need washed lettuce. We all need washed lettuce, right? If we're gonna eat lettuce. So anyway, so that's that mnemonic tip. And that one's kind of short. And that just reminds you, hopefully stimulates you to remember what the different kinds of communication are. So if we start off with verbal communication, the purpose is to convey ideas, concepts, facts, and opinions to the stakeholders. So you use the spoken word to convey the information. And this is typically a way to efficiently transfer the information. And you can also pair it with nonverbal and written communication. So, an example of pairing it with written communication would be, if you've got a PowerPoint and then you hand out the speaker notes or something like that afterwards, right? And that would be the written part of the communication would be the speaker notes, but you've presented the PowerPoint. And then, so you can use tone in verbal communication. You can use tone to influence the listener and ensure that the meaning is understood. And some of the effectiveness measures are that you're able to deliver effective presentations by designing the content and the objectives well, and also that you're able to assist the various conversations to reach productive conclusions. So, and that makes sense, right? If you can do that, then you have communicated verbally in an effective manner. The next one is nonverbal communication. So this is used to enhance the effective sending and receiving of verbal communication. So it conveys more meaning than words alone. So moods, attitudes, and feelings can be read through body movement and facial expressions. So have you ever accidentally raised your eyebrows when somebody told you something and they, at work, and they said, "Did you just raise your eyebrows?" And you said, "Did I? I guess I did." They're like, "Why did you raise your eyebrows?" Because that, probably conveyed to them that you didn't believe them or something, or that you were surprised by the information, something like that. So you want to make sure that you are aware of your stakeholders' nonverbal communications or cues, and adjust the message as necessary, right? So you want to be watching them as well as, controlling your own nonverbal communication. Like if they roll their eyes, right? That could be a problem. And so the effectiveness measures are intentional awareness of your own personal nonverbal communication and improving trust and communication as a result of nonverbal communication, whether it's you doing it or the stakeholders. So you want to improve the trust and communication because you are, once again, aware of your own personal nonverbal communication as well as the stakeholders. So I hope that makes sense. Okay. So we've taken care of vegetarians and need, and so now we're going to washed. So this is written communication. So the purpose of this is to convey ideas, concept, facts, and opinions to a variety of stakeholders. So the definition is that it's the practice of using text, symbols, pictures, models, and sketches to convey information in such a way that the audience will understand the intended meaning. So notice we're including sketches and pictures in written communication. And so this requires a broad vocabulary, a strong grasp of grammar and style, and knowledge of the business terms or jargons that are used by the audience. And the effectiveness measures are adjusting the style of writing for the needs of the audience, and also proper use of grammar and style. So you need to realize what style of writing the audience needs, what they prefer, what they need, and then you need to make sure that you use that style of writing in your particular written communication to them. So, that can be things like, do they want to see bullet points, instead of just straight text with no white space, that sort of thing. That can be one example. And then the last one here is listening. So this is lettuce. So the purpose is to, you want to listen, you want to be able to listen so that you can accurately understand communication that is, or information that is communicated verbally. So that means that you too need to understand communication as well. So, and receive it. So it's the process of understanding the meaning in context, not just hearing the words and, writing them down. You have to understand the entire sentence or the entire, paragraph or speech. So effective listening skills such as active listening, acknowledging, paraphrasing, summarizing, and restating are critical to successful analysis. So you want to acknowledge that you heard it, possibly by saying, yes, I hear you. I think I got that. Can I just restate that back to you in a different way to make sure I understand it? And then you may paraphrase it and say it back to them in a different way to make sure that you understand it. If they say, no, that's not it, then, then you say, okay, all right. So you may need to ask them to say it in a different way or say it again, or what did you mean, right? So, all right. And then the effectiveness measures are you giving the speaker your undivided attention? Or are they giving you their undivided attention, right? If you're the speaker. That you're acknowledging with verbal and nonverbal cues and providing feedback. So sorry, there's a couple misspellings there, but I should have fixed those anyway. So so either you or they are providing feedback. So when they tell you something and you're listening, then you're going to provide them with feedback, and you may give them verbal and normal cue and nonverbal cues. So you may nod, or you may smile, and you may say, I think I have that. And then, as I say, provide the feedback and say, so what I'm hearing you say is blah, 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 blah. So, and you may restate it in their words and then also paraphrase it as well, or summarize it. So, if they have told you a fair amount of information, you may say, so would the summary of this be, and give them, the final, the final summary of it. And if they say no, then you need to ask another question probably. So that takes us to the end of communication skills. So we're now going to interaction skills. And so interaction skills are the ability to relate to and cooperate and communicate with different people. So BAs need to be confident and capable, and they need to be able to relate to executives, sponsors, colleagues, team members, L&D professionals. I'm not sure what L&D was. Do you know what L&D was, Aaron? I've forgotten. Okay, anyway, I'm not sure. But also developers, project managers, vendors, end users, customers, and SMEs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They probably meant learning and development.
Oh, okay. Learning and development professionals. Okay. Oh, all right. Okay. Huh. Well, all right. Sorry about that. Anyway, so yeah. Anyway, so I know what SMEs are, right? See, SMEs are the subject matter experts. So anyway, so part of being able to relate, cooperate, and communicate is being confident, right? And so, but you need to be able to relate to all these different types of stakeholders. And so we as BAs are uniquely positioned to facilitate communication and also to provide leadership and encourage comprehension of solution value and promote stakeholder support. So, which is a really good thing. So the different underlying competencies for interaction skills are facilitation, leadership and influencing, teamwork, negotiation and conflict resolution, which of course is really, really important and, you know, a great skill to have, and not everybody can do it, right? And then teaching as well. So, so we'll go ahead and look at the first one, which is, oh no, actually, I think we're gonna look at the mnemonic first, sorry. There's another mnemonic here. So, so it's F from facilitation, L and I from leadership and influencing, teamwork, the T from teamwork, and then NCR from negotiation and conflict resolution, and then the T from teaching. And so the mnemonic tip here is feel like it's Tuesday night chicken and ranch tacos. So I don't know if anybody's had chicken and ranch tacos before. And I think I have had them and they were pretty good anyway. But anyway, feel like it's Tuesday night chicken and ranch tacos. We started out with one of my students had said, feel like it's Tuesday night tacos. And then one of the other students said, no, we have to include the conflict resolution. And so that's when the chicken and ranch got added in there. So feel like it's Tuesday night chicken and ranch tacos. That's the whole mnemonic. Okay. So for facilitation, if you are an effective facilitator, you can assist the stakeholders to make a decision, solve a problem, exchange ideas, or reach an agreement. I mean, you definitely need facilitation skills anytime you hold any kind of a meeting or do techniques such as, brainstorming or something like that. And so facilitation is the skill of moderating discussions within a group in order to enable all the participants to articulate their views. And it's the skill of ensuring that all participants recognize and appreciate differing points of view as well. So the effectiveness measures are, were you able to encourage participation from all attendees? And then are you able to remain neutral and not take sides, but intervene when required to offer your insights? And then another effectiveness measure is, are you using your meeting management skills and tools to keep the discussions focused on the topic and well organized, as opposed to, drifting off topic as, can happen. As a topic drifter, I know what that's like. Anyway, so, I have to constantly rein myself in. But anyway, so that's facilitation. And then the next one is leadership and influencing. So you need to have this particular interaction competency in order to build consensus and encourage stakeholder support and collaboration during the various analysis activities. So you have to need to be able to motivate people to act in ways that would enable them to work together to achieve shared goals and objectives. So, so motivating skills that's a big part of it, of influencing. And then leadership is necessary to drive analysis activities because the BA is responsible for defining, analyzing, and communicating requirements and solution options. So the effectiveness measures is there reduced resistance among the stakeholders and in the organization to necessary change? And if there is, then that means your leadership and influencing is very effective. And then do you have success in inspiring others to turn vision into action? And then are you able to effectively use collaboration techniques to influence others? So those are the effectiveness measures.
Hey, Kathy.
Yeah.
Interesting question in the chat about, in general, how influential should BA supposed to be? Shouldn't a BA be neutral and unbiased?
Well, it doesn't, being influential doesn't necessarily mean that you're trying to get them to do the solution or, you know, take your side in a discussion. You're being neutral, but you want to motivate them to make the decisions if they need to, and do the work that's necessary, or, you know, have the discussions that are necessary in order to help finish the project. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're shoving them towards a particular solution. You would be, say, recommending a solution, and you want them to have confidence in your recommendation, but you're not necessarily trying to lead them by the nose or anything like that. And you're remaining neutral during discussions where there's conflict, but you want to influence them to come to, you know, a consensus on this, on whatever it is. Even if you know, all you want to do is have them come to a consensus, not necessarily influence them to one specific, one specific requirement or another. You know, if two stakeholder requirements conflict, then what you're doing is you want to help them resolve the conflict, and you want to motivate them to come to a consensus. You don't necessarily care which one they choose, right?
Right, and that's where unbiased would be. I think you covered that well, but in the areas where you are the lead in the business analysis activities, you certainly want your BA or your stakeholders to be participating in that. So influencing may be, you know, making sure that they are participating in the process
Right.
and such. As Kathy said, not lead them to a specific recommendation, but we do recommend solutions and solution components and things like that. So making the argument and make sure it's backed up by the consensus of the group of stakeholders, and ensure everybody is in line in that. So understanding shared, you know, having that shared understanding, you know, of what's going on and all the requirements and, you know, the process in general.
Right, that makes sense, Aaron. Thank you. Okay. So the next one, which is, you know, these are all really important, teamwork. So BAs need to be able to work productively with the other team members, stakeholders, and any other partners, so that solutions can be effectively developed and implemented. So you need to understand the importance of how teams are formed and what the team dynamics are throughout the project lifecycle. This understanding is crucial, and you need to build and maintain trust with your teammates, and this will contribute to the team integrity and helps assist in resolving team conflict. So that kind of links back to the conflict resolution in the previous competency. But teamwork also, you know, teamwork is definitely part of that. So teamwork helps as well. And the effectiveness measures are you able to foster a collaborative work environment and resolve conflict? And do you support a high standard of achievement and team goals? So those are the effectiveness measures. And, you know, and so some of these, as I say, they're kind of different sides of the same coin, you know, because you need all of these. You need all of these underlying competencies in order to be effective. Or at least you need to have enough of them and then have other people on the team that have the ones you don't have, right? So, and that works out well. And then negotiation and conflict resolution. So this is the ability to mediate among stakeholders in order to reach a common agreement while ensuring that the outcome is still aligned to the overall solution and business needs. So you need to be able to identify what the underlying interests are of the various parties that are involved, find their common interests, and help them identify solutions that satisfy their underlying interests. So what you're looking for is a win-win, right? For the particular stakeholders who might be in conflict. And then the effectiveness measures of this are, do you take an objective approach which ensures that the problem is separated from the person and you're just debating the issues, not the person. And then do you have the ability to bring parties together to find solutions that satisfy both without either side losing? So that's the win-win thing. And, making the pie bigger, right? So that everybody can have a piece of the pie. So, in negotiation and conflict resolution, this is a difficult thing to do as well. So it's a very valuable skill, and you need to have it because you will have stakeholders that will be in conflict with each other, where they may even have specific interests or goals and objectives that seem to conflict with each other, or requirements that conflict with each other. Okay, and then teaching, which is the last of the interaction skills, isn't it? I think so, yeah. Mm-hmm. So the purpose of this is to be able to effectively communicate information, ideas, concepts, issues, so that others are able to gain the knowledge and they're going to actually retain the knowledge and understand it and, have internalize it. So in order to do this, you need to select the most appropriate teaching skills, whether visual, verbal, written, or kinesthetic, to promote the learning. So it can be the most appropriate teaching skills or techniques, basically. So, and then this enhances stakeholder engagement, as well as the collaboration and the clarity of the information and the understanding. And so the effectiveness measures are, do you utilize different methods to communicate information that's going to be learned? And are you able to validate that the audiences understand what is to be learned? And then verifying that the stakeholders can demonstrate the new knowledge, right? So, so in some cases that's giving them a quiz, right? Give your stakeholders a quiz. I don't know that depending on who your stakeholders are, you may not give them a quiz, but, do they actually can they demonstrate that they know the new knowledge, right? If what you're doing is teaching them how to execute a particular process in a new technology, can they now do it by themselves, right? So that would be one way that you can verify that the stakeholders can demonstrate the new knowledge. And so I was going to just say about teaching, I've actually found that teaching is a great skill to use when writing and presenting business cases. So business cases, in my opinion, need to be approached as if you are teaching the stakeholders, including the sponsor, on the costs, benefits, and risks of the various alternatives presented. So this is not to say that you should be pedantic or condescending, but just that the business process is an opportunity to teach information to the stakeholders, which they can then use in their decision-making process about, which of the alternatives that are presented that they should choose, right? So for me, as I say, I approach it as a teaching opportunity. Anyway, does anybody have any comments or questions about that? Because I know it sounds sort of weird, but anyway.
No, nothing in checkbox.
Nothing? Okay, maybe it's not that weird. Okay. I don't know. All right. And now tools and technology. And I think, yeah, this is the last, because let's see, what was the mnemonic for all the categories? All big bugs crawl in trees, right? Okay. All right. So tools and technology. So business analysts use various software applications to support communication, collaboration, and requirement artifacts and model concepts to increase productivity. So if you've got, you can use requirements management and documentation tools, traceability and impact assessment tools, prototyping and simulation tools, and also modeling and diagramming tools. So there's a various different tools and technology that you can become proficient in, or that you may be proficient in. And collaboration tools can enhance the interaction with the stakeholders and team members, and are especially important if you're working with virtual or remote teams. So they're not co-located. So you have to, that means that you have to, you may get less opportunities and less sort of, FaceTime with them. So you want to make sure that you effectively use tools to do that communication and collaboration. So the types are office productivity tools and technology, business analysis tools and technology, and then communication tools and technology. So office, okay, so there's one more mnemonic here. So I asked my students about this, and they came up with a whole bunch of these, because it's just OBC, office productivity tools and technology, BA, and then communication. So the mnemonics they came out with were out by the coast, otters be cute, on board credit, and Oliver buys cars. So take your pick or make up your own. Anyway, it's OBC, which stands for office productivity, BA, and communication. So, and if you wanted,
otters be cute.
Otters be cute, yeah. That came from this guy named Chris Mitchell, the otters be cute. And I want to say out by the coast came from Sean Riddles, and onboard credit came from Shelby. And I think Oliver buys cars came from Natalie, maybe. It might have been a Natalie one, I'm not sure. Anyway, so yeah, out by the coast, otters be cute, onboard credit, Oliver buys cars, whichever one works for you, or something different if none of those work. All right. So the purpose of office productivity tools, they're used to document and track information about artifacts. So they provide the ability to organize, dissect, manipulate, communicate, collaborate, and understand information. So this includes things like word processing software such as Word, presentation software like PowerPoint, but also, there's open source ones as well, spreadsheets, communication tools, collaboration and knowledge management tools, and hardware as well. So effectiveness measures are, is the BA, or which is you, aware of the available tools and their operations and abilities, and what they're most, useful for, and then ability to determine the tool that will best meet stakeholder needs, and ability to use the features of the tool. So do you actually understand it? Do you, if you're using Excel, do you know do you know how to use the add-ons that are going to work best to meet the stakeholder needs and that sort of thing, right? So depending on what those are, and in the particular case. And then there's business analysis tools and technology. So these are used to model, document, and manage the outputs of business analysis activities and deliverables. So, so this could be modeling, diagramming, analyzing and mapping requirements, mapping to business rules, requirements workflow and approvals, traceability, issue and risk analysis and tracking, and conflict and defect tracking. So the effectiveness measures are, can you apply your understanding of the major tools available and describe the strengths and weaknesses and the best use of each one? And are you able to use the tools to complete requirements relate activities quickly or more quickly in order to shorten time frames? So, all right. And then communication tools and technologies. So these are tools that you would use to manage team interaction and collaboration. And so knowing how to use a variety of the various communication tools and collaboration environments can enable more efficient and accurate communication and effective decision-making. So, you know, I guess that could be things like, you know, Zoom, Cisco WebEx and all that sort of thing. And then maybe even, I don't know, maybe even email would count as well, even email could count as a communication tool probably. And then, so the effectiveness measures are the selection of appropriate and effective tools for your audience, and as well as for the purpose of the communication. And then the ability to identify tools that meet communication needs, and the ability to use the features of whatever tool that you're identifying and choosing. And that's the end of chapter 9. Are we anywhere near break again? We might be.
Oh, 10 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, does anybody want me to go back to any particular slide and go over it again, or are there some questions?
I came up with a mnemonic for that last group.
Oh, what's the mnemonic?
One baby crying.
Oh, okay. There you go. That works. Yeah, that does work. Yeah.
Trying to find outbound crossfire.
Oh, there you go. Outbound crossfire, one baby. I'm writing these down. Let me go get a pen. Just a second here. 'Cause, I kind of like these.
Onboarding credentials. All right. Anybody have any questions or anything? Kathy, you want to do your final poll?
Okay. Yeah, sure. I can do that. So let me stop
To that.
and
it looks like we may be giving you about an hour of your day back, everybody.
okay.
Kathy is now sharing the our final questions in our poll. So again, if you see the pop-up poll, then you can answer it there. If not, the first question is on the slide behind there. You can answer that in the chat box. I got a C in the chat box.
And so tomorrow, aren't we having a monthly meeting?
Yes.
That's why you were thinking about tomorrow.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
So
Right.
if you want to do a shameless plug on tomorrow's meeting.
I don't have the description of it in front of me. I'm sorry.
It is actually a digital transformation discussion.
Yeah.
It's called Making Magic with Blended Teams. So we're going to work how BA should collaborate with other team members, including developers, designers, and testers and such. It's offered at noon and 6 p.m. on Eastern time. So you could go to our website and see both the noon and the 6 p.m. listing, sign up for one of them if you're interested in that topic.
Yeah. So that's great. So that's all about
A whole book.
collaboration, leadership and influencing, communication, right? Interaction. Yeah. All that stuff.
So, and the idea is bring on business agility, be able to work faster, bring about solutions quicker. So first question in the pool there, we're about 56% have answered. A business analyst is often in a teacher role, we just covered and everything, where he or she must effectively communicate requirements and ensure that the requirements have been understood and retained. To do this effectively, the BA must
Yeah.
one of those four things. A great many of them, 85% got it correct.
Yeah, that's good.
65% polling. I got a D. I saw a C earlier in the chat box. So if you can't see the pop-up poll, you can answer in the chat box. When we answer this first one on the slide deck there, Kathy, and move to the second.
Oh, yeah, okay. There, whoops. It turned on and then it went off. There we go. Okay. I clicked it on and then appeared.
Again, it was asked in the chat. So tomorrow, see, I did it again. Next week's test is the actual exam. The ECBA is actually, 50 questions, just like the real exam, using the same blueprint. So there'll be one question from chapter 8, and few questions, 2 or 3 questions from 6 and 3. Business analysis, planning, and strategy analysis are very small on the ECBA blueprint. But requirements analysis, design, definition, requirements lifecycle management, and elicitation are the big ones. And of course, the business analysis profession, in general, chapters 1 and 2.
And then there's actually some questions from chapter 9 on the ECBA exam too.
So
yeah,
the CBAP will have the same blueprint as the actual CBAP exam. So requirements analysis and design and definition is a big part of that. I think we said 30%. But solution evaluation is what, 12% of that? So it's a much bigger part of the CBAP. And it has, if I remember correctly, 80 questions on it, because we're doing it in 2.5 hours instead of 3.5 hours. We went 3.5 hours, so we can make 120 questions. And that's ran very much like our previous ones, only this is over the entire BABOK. So now you're studying the entire BABOK. Go back, study what you have done before. The email that you're going to receive will have the completed set of study sheets, which you've not gotten yet. And you have all our answers for the student exercises already. Use all of that stuff. Use your study guide. Use the BABOK itself. Study, the entire BABOK. And so we will start at 6 o'clock Tuesday evening. And any other questions on next week's exam? Everybody's so quiet. So prepare for that. You're studying the entire exam. You'll also get 1 or 2 other emails. One of them is that we're going to ask you to give us feedback on the study guide that you are using. We provide these to the 2 companies that provide those study guides for us. And it's an effort to keep the cost of this study group down so that we don't have to charge so much. They don't charge us so much for the study books. So if you would, when you get that email asking for feedback on that study guide, please complete that. I think in beginning, sometime toward the beginning of this study group, we did ask you to connect with us on social media. So I may send that out again in case you had not done that. So as official LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube channels. So we'd like to have you stay connected with us there. And Kathy and I always accept invitations on LinkedIn.
Yeah, we do. That's true.
So feel free to connect with us as well. So, and then after now next Wednesday, the 26th, is what was the review session. That will now become a small group discussion with other CBAPs and CCBAs within the chapter. We'll get as many here as we can to make your group as small as few students with a CBAP or CCBA mentor, you can ask them, about their journey to become IIBA certified, about the process, tips and tricks, anything about the exam, anything you want to ask them about that. It'll put you in a smaller group so that you could have a little more time to discuss with those groups, with, that. So any questions on that? So even though we finished a little earlier today, you'll get full 2.5 PD hour credit for today. Don't worry about that. We're not going to, knock anybody because we finished early.
Yeah, because I was talking too fast.
Have any other questions?
Anything in the chat window? Oh, it says everybody's good. All right. Peter Neefus says 1 extra hour to study. That's good, right? All right. I guess I'll go ahead and disconnect then as well.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to close this down so I can reboot.
All right. Okay. Bye.
I can all night. All right. See you later.